We're all set. Oh, I'm so excited that you're here, Jackie or Jacqueline Camacho Ruiz. Bienvenida. How are you?
Gracias. Thank
We're
you.
so glad that you're here on Pivoting in Heels. It's interesting. We've known each other for a while, and we run into each other all the time, like at different things that we're doing. Usually, getting interviewed for something. It seems like, doesn't it? Like, or some big women's event or something. And so I'm really excited that I've gotten the chance in the more recent months to get to know you a little bit better. You're such an amazing person. I hear that from everybody. So, and at Pivoting in Heels, one of the things that we try to do, or the main thing that we try to do, is empower women. And we feel that the way to empower women is for us to learn from each other. So one of the ways is that all of us go through so many things, and we as women, we pivot, but we do it in heels, which is where the whole pivoting in heels comes from.
It's even harder.
It's even harder, right? It's even, more difficult. And so what we try to do with these interviews with amazing individuals such as yourself is to really share some of those pivotal moments in life that can maybe influence somebody else and change them in a positive way. Not everything in life is positive, though, and some of those moments that are the most difficult, very honestly, are the ones that can really help an individual evolve. So we want to touch maybe on both sides, because you're doing some amazing things. You're an example of a woman that I think many people should follow and should learn from. But I know not everything is perfect. Not everything, has been perfect. And again, those, if hopefully, you're able to share some of those with our audience, because that's how we all learn, and that's how we all grow, and that's how we get to support each other, right? Unless you know those, we don't. So anyway, welcome to Pivoting in Heels. We're glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit. I know that you have a business, and one of your business partners, or the main business partner, is your husband. And so tell us a little bit, just quickly, about the business, that your core business, because you have a couple of them.
Couple of businesses. Well, I'm feeling honored. Finally being able to do this together.
Yes.
And I am honored to be here and use this amazing space to connect with hopefully many, many other women that are on the other side of this camera, to be able to share those moments. And I've always been an entrepreneur. I started my first company here in the States when I was 23. But before that, I started a company when I was 5.
Okay.
I was selling figs in Mexico City. That was my very first stake of entrepreneurship. And I saw a whole bunch of figs in our backyard. I set up a little wobbly table, and there were people walking by in these amazing suits. I'm like, wow, one day I'm going to wear one of those. And nobody would pay attention to me. And I started chasing them down the street. I said, today you are going to feel the value that I bring with this business. So they would come back to me and they would buy figs. I said, if you buy 3 figs, if you pay 3 pesos, you'll get 5 figs. Only for today. And when my mom noticed, I had sold about 30 pesos in figs. So that, to me, that was one of the pivotal moments in business where I said, you know what? Things don't happen by sitting on the sidelines. They happen because you take a step forward and you ask, and you encapsulate your intellectual property, your value, and you make it happen.
So let me ask you a question on there, because you're 5 years old, and at 5 or at any age, you could go either way, right? Somebody walks away from you and doesn't pay attention to what you're selling. You could either feel really bad about yourself or scared about going after them, but you took the opposite route. And I think that's a real critical thing to think about and to point out, because that is a pivotal moment, but it's a pivotal moment also in the way you respond. And that's what makes the big difference, right? Because you could have gone back to the house and cried to your mom and said, Mom, nobody's paying attention to me, or I'm afraid to go after them.
And I was a cute little girl. I had pigtails, I had blonde little hair, and I was dressed, to the nines, because my mom was like mom's little girl.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the start of my company. I mean, isn't what happened, like you open the doors and people should just fly in?
Yes.
No, and that is the reality for a lot of businesses, that fast forward, when I was 23, I decided that I was going to focus on encapsulating my intellectual property to create a marketing public relations company, a business, an agency. So that company is my bread and butter, the company that has turned me into an entrepreneur for the last 13 years of my life here in this beautiful land of opportunity. And the company that also gave me the confidence to start my second company.
But that's JJ Marketing.
JJR
right?
Marketing.
JJR Marketing.
And it's Jackie Juan Pablo Ruiz.
Okay, so
that was the deal, like when we, that was like, okay, you can start a company, but my husband's like, you gotta involve me. Even though he wasn't part of the company until a year later, full time. So.
Okay, but he wanted to be a part of it.
He saw that it was a business. He's like, wow, this is...
So were you married already, or
yes.
you were okay?
Yes.
So you were married already, and
he just saw that, like, wow, you're making money. This is happening. I'm like, well, that was the plan. I want to, this is a business, and I think that's the other thing that I can share with the audience in becoming an entrepreneur at 23. That you need to go into anything you do with the high expectation that you're gonna succeed, and just work your butt off to get to that point, and don't see failure as an option. You see lessons, you see things that you learn, but never fail. And that's, I determined at 23 that even though I didn't speak a word of English when I was 14, I was creating a marketing communications agency.
Because you were 5, you were in Mexico,
yeah.
And then your family came here, right?
When I was 14.
And I remember you told me in Mexico you lived in a small town, right?
From Mexico City, where I was born,
then you moved to
and then 7 years old, I moved to a very small town that that was very shocking for me to.
And then your family moved to
the United States when I was 14, and I didn't speak a word. So people are like, "You're starting a marketing agency at 23. You didn't speak the language just a few years ago." But I felt something inside. That was the other thing. Like, I felt that I could add value, and. But anyway, that's what led me to create another company, which is my passion, and that is a publishing house where I help authors and people from around the world become authors.
Yes.
And I love it.
And you have a group, which is kind of how I got to know you. You have a group of Latinas that I know that have been published really because of you, right? Could you tell us a little bit about how that works? And I know that you help write some of the stories, and then you're able to publish some of their stories. So, and this has now in its 5th or 6th? 6th. Okay.
Yeah. So it all started because I became an author when I was 26, and I think I cried for 2 months because I couldn't believe that I could be called an author. I didn't feel worthy, and this is what a lot of times happens. In our community, that you have a beautiful story to share. That you have that passion and inspiration, but a lot of times we hold ourselves back because of the time, the money, the resources that it takes to write an entire book. So I launched my first book at 26, and then 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. And then for my 7th book, I had a divine download. I said, I'm meeting a lot of amazing Latinas. How do I put them together in this anthology book to be able to share their stories? So it all sort of came together. 27 women later became part of Volume 1, which I didn't know was going to be Volume 1. It was just going to be one book with 10 women. And I find myself being called by people all over the United States saying, I want to be part of that. I'm like, what? The second volume, like, what second volume? So I had to really go back to, my essence and say, is this what I want to do? It feels amazing to be able to give a platform for women to share their stories. But I never set out to do the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th. And less than a couple months ago, I launched Volume 6 with amazing Latinas that live in Europe. So it's just been an incredible journey. I'm working on Volume 7 and 8 right now.
That's exciting. No, that's wonderful that you're doing that. And that's great that you're able to get them to put their story together. You help them, write it and then get it out in a book. That's very exciting.
And it's become so much more than that. Today's Inspired Latina has become an international movement. I have 152 women in 6 volumes, over 20 countries represented, a big, huge family. I'm getting ready to do the first international summit in Puerto Vallarta, where I'm gonna make it my second home.
You were saying that, yeah. You were saying that.
I have 156 people coming, and Deepak Chopra's brother is gonna be our main keynote speaker, Dr. Sanjeev Chopra, who's a medical faculty member of Harvard and a medical doctor, and everything is just flowing so beautifully with that.
So, and those are like fantastic things. I do want to bring up something because I think it's amazing that you've done that and that you've gotten these incredible stories from really these amazing women and helped them, you know, co-authored for them and helped them get their story out. But I want to ask you a little bit because you talk about in your bio about you being a cancer survivor. So can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, how did you get through that emotionally, you know, and physically? Understand it's in remission, right, and everything else.
I've been,
yeah, which is really great.
12 years.
But what happens? Like, what happens when you find out that that's the case, and you're young and beautiful, and you're married, and you've got your kids, right? At the time, did you have both of them?
No.
No. Okay.
I didn't have
this
any
was
of the kids the first time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking
because I've heard this word associated with my body 2 times.
Yes.
21 and 23.
So what happens, and again, I think, you know, the way you handled it when you were 5 comes back again now, and instead of, I think, running, you know, you go straight on at it, and then you begin to create. But tell us about that, because there's a lot of women that go out there and, you know, they have to go through that, or they have someone that is very dear to them and close to them that gets sick or has cancer and something, and then how to deal with that's such a pivotal moment for many of us, unfortunately, that people have to go through. So tell us, if you don't mind sharing, but it's, I think, such an important thing that would be great for you to share a little bit about that. Number one, when you find out about it, and then number 2, how do you respond to it? And then it happened twice, right? But yeah, so tell us a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
about
I think, you know, when you first hear that word associated with your body, you are in shock. I mean, you think immediately about death, and you think of, you know, what about all the dreams that I'm not going to fulfill, you know, because of this. And I think it really takes every part of you to say, no, I want to live, like and almost like defy the status quo and defy what the doctors might be telling you. I mean, you know, the first time, you know, even just hearing that word is just like, wow. And then you start to find out, you know, like, well, you know, there are options, there's treatment, but most importantly, there's a will. There is a way, like this force, this energy that drives you forward and allows you to see things clearly.
Were you scared at all? I mean, when you first heard that you had this, I mean, was there a sense of fear? And then I'm curious about this because people handle it different ways. I mean, were you scared and didn't want to talk to anybody for a little bit and just go in, or did you immediately want the information and go out and, you know, challenge it head on?
Well, from my reading since I was a little girl, I knew that the quicker that you embrace something, as difficult as it is, the more that you gain objectivity to fight it or to do something about it. So I first kind of found refuge in my journal. You know, for me, my German teacher used to say that writing was an extension of your soul. And I'm thinking, okay, how do I express all these emotions, all this, the fear and the paralyzing thoughts and all these different things, and how do I use the power of gratitude to overcome them? So it was really an inside job, you know, to be able to manifest and to be able to give me the strength to make the right decisions and, you know, start exercising more, eat green juices, you know, really have these mantras and affirmations. But did I feel fear? Did I feel like, especially like the suffering from your family? I mean, that's, you know, to me, that's sorry. You know, I think, you know, that in hindsight, like when I look up that's what really gets me. Like, I know that when you see somebody that you love suffering or going through uncertainty, And you know what? Unbeknownst to me, because of this diagnosis, I was the vehicle that was allowing my family to go through that suffering. And I think that, to me, that's like the hardest thing, because even with the second time I had pre-cancer by my liver.
Can you go get some tissue upstairs?
It's that second time was even more shocking, because I was I ate an Indian spice, and I started feeling all these weird symptoms, and I was already in remission from the first time. It had only been 2 years. Just go to this Indian restaurant, and I just ate this Indian spice, and I ended up being hospitalized 2 weeks, 40 doctors.
And this is the second time that this happened? I mean,
Yeah.
you're perfectly fine, but in case you...
Yeah, thank you.
So let me ask you this, because I mean, you're amazing. Like I really, you're so incredible in like so many different ways, and I apologize for bringing this up, but at the same time, this is such a vital, important thing, because a couple of things that you said. So you went in, but instead of retreating, it was really to find the strength and the guidance inside yourself, right? Which I think is so important for women to do. You thought about it, you wrote about it, the feelings that you had, and then you researched, which was also something that's so important, that I think with anything, especially with something this vital, that it's important for women to do. And then you reached out. I think the other thing that's really important is that you're thankful, because you talked about being grateful, and you also were thinking not just of yourself, or probably not as much of yourself. You're thinking of those around you, of your family, and the impact. And from everything that I've experienced, all of that, all those pieces to it is where the healing comes from, right? And so, I mean, kudos to you in a million, different ways. I love, the whole component of how you pivoted with the research, because it seems like you, apart from what the doctors were saying, you also went and you found some things, some different ways, right?
It was more. Sorry.
I feel bad now.
I mean, this is, it's raw. It's like, because this touches, and sometimes I get emotional, sometimes I don't, but it's something that I think about every day. I don't know how to describe it. It's like this, they say that behind every great illness, there's a great person. And I don't know what it is. Like you said, this is a pivoting moment for me, both at 21, at 23, and it touches to the very core of who you are. And both doctors, this is, I was kind of reviewing, that period of my life, because I spent so much time in hospitals, tests, everything that you can think of. I never had to do chemo, but I went through obviously some surgeries, a lot of surgeries and tests and things and all kinds of stuff. But and both doctors said to me, "Your positive attitude saved you." Like, and I'm like, wait, this is a Western medicine doctor.
That's
Doctor
fantastic.
1, Doctor 2. They're telling me the same thing. Like, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. So that to me gave me that power. I said, you know what? I have mojo, and I know that wrapped in that is gratitude. Like, that's like, by the way, the definition of mojo, if you guys didn't know, it's little bag of magic.
Yeah. And I was just gonna ask you to repeat that. You have what?
Mojo. I got mojo. And you know what? This mojo is like this little bag of magic that expands into the universe. And I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like,
we should do little necklaces that say mojo, You know
what I've done? I've done these little bottles of like sparkle, like this glitter. And I said, here's your mojo.
Here's your mojo.
And I just decided, I mean, the second time I was laying in the hospital bed, they had completely reconstructed my digestive system. I mean, took out gallbladder, bile ducts, they cut the intestine in half, connected it onto the liver, put a little tube in a bag. And I told the doctor I had a 5-month-old baby. And he comes in and he says, we had to go to plan B because we found that it was pre-cancer level 4 right by your liver. So you were a time bomb and you were born with this. So I'm like, I was? Oh my, just because I ate an Indian spice. Like, what are the odds?
That's how you found.
That's how I found out. I would have died within 3 years without even knowing. I mean, that gives me goosebumps to know, because I've been alive now for 12 years because I was open to this Indian culture, and I tried the Queen of Spices, and that triggered all these things. He said, second, you might die over the next 2 weeks because we don't know if you're gonna, the digestive system is gonna work, and it might disintegrate your organs. We might have to feed you with a tube for the rest of your life, or you might be okay. I said, doctor, well, number one, I want number three, I want to be okay. And number two, I need to get out of here by next Thursday because I have finals at College DuPage and I'm graduating with honors. And he just kind of like smirked at me. But then he left, and then I had this moment of solitude. And I don't know how to describe this moment, but from everything that I had been through, hearing the word cancer at 21, cancer at 23, I looked up at the ceiling and I said, God, like, I need to know why me, and I need to know what my mission is, because I'm only 23 and I want to live. And I just heard to serve others. I mean, I don't know what that was, but it felt pretty amazing inside. But I'm like, what do I do? I'm 23. I'm broke. I have nothing. I'm just starting this company. I'm a mom. I haven't even graduated.
But you had mojo. You had a lot
of mojo. Yes. And I didn't even know that I had the mojo. So I think that for me, discovering that mojo, discovering that I don't care that you're young, broke, single, married, widowed, you can make an impact today. And this has been my journey. 10 years later, or actually 13 years later, I have been clean, thank God. And I just thank God and the universe.
God. Oh my goodness.
Every single day of my life.
Yeah.
And gratitude is my fuel that fuels the mojo.
I love the mojo. Well, and it's that it wasn't dark, but that very difficult moment, and that you get these options. And I think it's where you put the attention on, right? That you attract the most energy to, and that you give energy to and life to. And you put the energy on that you can be 100% well.
I mean, I went to do my finals. This makes me a little emotional, but I went to do my finals at College DuPage with a bag and a tube that was connected to my liver.
Oh my goodness.
Draining, determining if I was going to be okay, if I was going to die, if I was going to be fed out of a tube for the rest of my life. That tube and the bag that was draining was the determining factor that I had to wear, like from my stomach down to basically the side when they took it out, if that was what my fate was going to be. So I wore a long jacket. I did my finals and I graduated with honors.
I love that. Oh
Came
my
back.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
And the nurse took her hand and wrapped it around my finger, pulled the bag out from my liver that was already becoming part of, and it hurt like I thought I was going to die. Nobody ever warned me for that.
It hurt like hell. I'm sure it hurt like hell. Oh my God, I can't even imagine that.
And she said, oops, it didn't come out. But I literally felt like all my guts came out. And I was like, oh my God, this was the most hard. And then she wrapped her fingers around this tube again and just pulled it out, and this back came out. Yeah, because it didn't come out the first time. And she said, I think this is going to work. And I've been amazing for 13 years of my life.
That's fabulous.
Building businesses, building nonprofit organizations with 140 young women that we've impacted through the Fig Factor Foundation, writing 15 books, becoming one of the few Latina sports airplane pilots in the US, and impacting the world and traveling the world to share that mojo.
That mojo.
The mojo and inspiration.
And you just touched on something. So and thank you so much, because frankly, it's difficult for me to ask the question, but I think very important for us to get to know that side of you, because that's obviously the fuel. It came from a very difficult time, but that's the fuel. And I want our audience, which are predominantly women, but we have a lot of men that also watch us, actually. I think because they want to know more about us and they think, we're an important, which is
We're
good.
amazing.
We're amazing and fantastic.
I have Mojino.
but it's important, and thank goodness not everyone has to go through such a difficult time, but people have to dig in sometimes and find that fuel and ask the question, what is my purpose here? What am I doing here on earth, and what is the direction that my life should take? So I want to touch on something I'm very excited about that you do, and I want you to give us a little bit of the stats, because you're unique as it is, but then you're very, very unique because you're a sports pilot, and you just shared with us a little bit. Tell us about how you decided to become a pilot, and give us a little bit of the stats, because there aren't a lot of women pilot, and there are even less Latinas or Latinos, right? Yeah. But share with us a little bit about that incredible, direction that now you've put your life on, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you get to share it even with your family, which I think is fabulous.
I love difficult things. I don't know why. I just gravitate towards the hardest thing. When I came to the States, I was 14. I didn't speak a word of English. And then I found out what was the hardest language they had at the moment. And it was German. I said, I want to learn German. So I became a German tutor. And I got the only...
I have a niece like you, by the way.
Yeah, I got the only gift from the German embassy at 16 years old. I said I was... the number one student in all the German classes. So that was one of my first early, gifts. And of course, I think in my quest, unbeknownst to me, I'm finding the next.
There wasn't a German boyfriend or anything? You just decided to just do the German. Okay.
Yeah, I used to work with an Austrian teacher and that, like, what is that? That sounds really hard. I want that. And the same thing with aviation. But to put it in perspective, out of the entire population of the United States, you only have 0.02% of the population that are pilots, male and female. Out of that, you have only 6.5% that are female pilots. And out of that, less than 0.5% of that 6.5% of the female population of pilots, out of the 0.02 of the entire population of the United States. So again, in the category of difficult, and
we have one of them here.
Yeah, I had no idea how difficult it was going to be. And what's fascinating is that saying yes to something that aligned with my heart has opened up so many doors. But it came to me like a divine download, as I call them, right? It was like, I'm going to be a pilot, but...
Which I like it because it's both mystical and tech.
Yes,
just
to
be clear.
Nerdy and dreamy at the same time.
I love
combined.
Yes, exactly.
That's where the magic happens. That's where the mojo happens,
exactly.
Right? But you're not gonna believe this, but I get invited. This was like the coolest thing ever. Like this is like a day of like magic. I get invited by the United States Army to be the keynote speaker of the Hispanic Heritage Month celebration in 2015. At an island with 300 soldiers called Rock Island Arsenal. And that evening, I had an event for my 7th book in Rosemont. It was at 5 p.m. and they invited me at 1 p.m. Of course, I'm not going to say no to the U.S. Army to be the keynote speaker for 300 soldiers. So I literally called up an aviation company that I was working with and I said, I need your help. I'm on a bind. I can make it to Iowa, come back, except traffic on 88. It's just like, I can't take that chance. So I said, would you please give me a ride? They, of course, pilots want to fly. I found out. You want to fly. I'm like, why am I not there? Why am I here? Right? And he said, of course, I'll give you a ride. He took me to the private side of the airport. Sergeant picked us up, took me over to the island, 5 minutes. I got greeted by a 3-star general, 6'5". The most impressive
so cool.
man, like, wow. I did interviews for their local TV station, radio, their website. And then I did a keynote for 10 minutes. 300 soldiers stood up. I still get the goosebumps and gave me
I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about
standing ovation. They paid me very well and they gave me a coin of excellence by the U.S. Army. The guy took me back, went to the private side of the airport, flew me back, got into my little sports car, And I made it to my second event just on time.
Did you?
Yes, I was like,
I love that.
that's what I'm talking about. It was a perfect kind of day.
That's like a perfect kind of day. Oh my gosh.
And there was no rain. It was beautiful to fly. I was like, wow. And then I kind of left it like that, because a lot of times you experience things, and you get ideas. I mean, all of us get 30,000 thoughts a day, but there are times where you get a divine download, and you got to pay attention to those. A divine download is an idea with an amazing feeling attached to it. So I'm driving one day.
And it's all about the feeling.
It's all about the feeling.
Yes.
It's all about the feeling, the alignment.
Yes.
And it typically is meant exactly for you in your current state, in your current ecosystem. And if you don't listen to that, the universe is going to stop taking away those, it's going to start taking away those divine download opportunities. So the more that you listen to those, the more that you become aligned with your mission and purpose.
And the more that you're grateful for them, then the more that come.
And the more you continue to grow and expand, it's crazy. But one day I was driving an 88, great, on the same road that I was going to take to go to Iowa. And I had this profound feeling that I got tears in my eyes. I said, I'm going to become a pilot. Now, did I know the stats? Nothing. I didn't knew nothing besides, doing pretty marketing collateral for the client.
Is it that you wanted to go somewhere faster, or just?
There was no explanation.
It just
okay. It's crazy again, because when you get those divine downloads, it's not. Sometimes you can't explain it. You're like, okay, this is weird. I'm a mom. I mean, I have a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old. They were a lot younger then. I have 2 businesses. Like, what am I? But it was so profound that I surrendered to that thought. I called up my client, which he answered. He's typically flying. I was like, wow, this is another sign. Came back 2 days later because I was going on a trip, and I said I need some light reading because I want to become a pilot. And they gave me probably 20 books, a big bag, and the Bible for pilots, which is a very tiny percentage on how you get your license, and about 80% of that is how you lose your license. That's when I knew, and it was written by attorneys for pilots, and that's when I knew that I was getting myself into something very difficult. And I said, yes, this is what I've been craving. From my German to starting a company to writing my first book and second or whatever. This is what I need. And oh my God, I dove in. Like, I just 100%. When I did my first solo in 2016, after landing and taking off 3 times, they cut the back of my shirt. I'm like, why are you doing this? This is an expensive proposition. He said, today you got your wings.
Aww.
And all that I went through to become a pilot is now worth it. I have 6 women that are getting their pilot's license as we speak. I've awarded 2 scholarships personally to 2 young ladies that are going to start flying. And I am participating in a race that is unlike anything you've ever heard.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me about that. That's
imagine,
so exciting. Yes,
oh my God.
So exciting.
Imagine dozens and dozens of female pilots crossing the United States with little planes, stopping in 8 points of reference and crossing about 15 states. I am racing with 2 other Latina pilots across the United States next June as the Air Race Classic.
You've got your team.
Whole bunch of planes. Yeah, we got our team.
Who are your other 2 team members?
One of the ladies' name is Natalie. She lives out of state, and the other one is Jasmine. One of them is Colombian, the other one is Mexican. Of course, I'm Mexican, and I hopefully we can call ourselves the Pilotinas. Pilot plus Latinos. Pilotinas. But anyway, those are the kinds of things that for me, it's just like pushes the envelope, and it just aligns you with so much magic. And 2 of my books are about aviation for children. I've given away over 500 teddy bears. Again, talking about gratitude.
And you were telling me you fly with a teddy bear,
yes.
right? You fly with a teddy bear, and then when you take one of your kids up with you as well, they have the little teddy bear.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's so symbolic.
And I've given away over 500. They're scattered throughout the world.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, 500. My husband's like, why are we getting another box of teddy bears? I said, I had a divine download, and I know it's going to come to me. Who needs to get those teddy bears? I'm on my 4th box.
I want to talk a little bit about this husband. Let's talk a little bit about your husband. Yeah, because he sounds, I mean, you're wonderful. He sounds fantastic. The whole family and people are, you know, getting to see pictures of this beautiful family. And I know you take the kids flying up. But let's talk a little bit about the husband because, you know, for many women, it doesn't always go that easy with your partner, right? Husband, partner, whatever. And so he sounds great. It sounds like you two are so in love and such a wonderful couple. And you wrote a book together, right? Simple Truths to Make Your Heart Beat.
Beep.
Beep. Oh
My daughter came up with that phrase when she was 5.
Oh yeah, she did?
My heart is beeping. I'm so happy.
Oh, so
beeping.
cute.
Your heart beats. Like, no, my heart beeps.
Yours maybe, my heart beats. So tell us a little bit about the relationship and how do you keep it, I don't know if fresh is a word, but exciting certainly sounds like the right, you know, and how do you get to collaborate and how do you get him to agree to your divine downloads, you know, because that's not always the easiest. I mean, do you ever get one of these like, that doesn't sound like a divine download to me, you know, what are you doing? Like,
oh, he recognizes when he sees my face. It's like, okay, what do I need to do and how much money is this going to cost?
I love it.
That's typically what I hear. They're like, oh man. But you know, he's got divine downloads of his own. And
I bet he does.
Divine downloads are kind of crazy too.
Yeah. So tell me if you could give us 3 things, like 3, you know, key points that help make your marriage, your relationship work.
Number 1, you get the people that you love, the person that you love, involved in your magic, in your mojo, and strategically try to find ways to integrate them into the magic that you're creating. Because when they can see it and feel it firsthand, they get excited. When he got involved with Today's Inspired Latina, I started saying like, wow, our first event and we have 621 people show up. He's like, we got something here. When he started to see JJR marketing, started to see that it was a business, oh, you got something. I want to get involved. So allow them a little window to see and peek into your world and the magic that you're creating. That's 1. Number 2, we have this ongoing growth of respect of what he does, and it's like a mixture between respect and admiration because he's an amazing artist, and I let him know that, and he lets me know how special I am too. So, like,
do you do that by telling him on a daily basis? Do you write him little notes? Do you, I mean, how does that message
I give
get
him
across?
journals that say you're freaking brilliant. I give him get a hint.
Brilliant. You're brilliant.
Freaking brilliant. Like you're up it. But you know, so yes, of course, you know, we you know, I prepare the coffee and I do all these little gestures, and he does that to me too. Like this morning he prepared this amazing cappuccino with this beautiful design, and then, you know, like just little things like that, and they kind of like let each other know. We were up until 1:30 in the morning 2 days ago because we have a huge event in Puerto Vallarta, and we were literally strategizing, okay, how do we make it better? So, you know, grow the admiration with each other. But then that's business, right? We've been working together for 12 years, and people say you've been together for 15, been married for 15, you know, together for 17, married for 15, and worked together for 12. And I'm only 36, he's only 38, so it's like half of our lives. Mm-hmm. But so that has helped too, that we've grown together. But I think just getting each other involved in that. And then 3rd, you co-dream. That's so important. You know, just like I love to fly as one of the few pilotinas in the United States, which I didn't know because it just feels like the universe is open, you know, like, oh, fly. He loves to race. Oh, wow. That's like...
Oh, yeah, you were saying about the race.
He races. He's got a supercar. He loves to do rallies. He loves to do autocross competitions on the track. And who supports him? I do.
So you go out there with him when he's racing?
Yeah,
and
I go out there. I said, you know, what do we need to do to the car? Like, let's make this happen. And I support him. His hobbies are a little bit more expensive than mine sometimes. It seems like, even if I fly, you know. But he, you know, when I first told him I was going to be a pilot, he was like, what? You know, that's what a lot of people say, right? But then they see that shininess. They see that mojo coming through your eyes, right? That's the theme today, right? The mojo.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he went immediately, found out which ones were the best headsets for somebody that was starting out as a student and, piloting, and he bought them for me. And then the next thing I know, I have this box of.
So he was a part of it right away.
Oh, absolutely,
and he figured out how to support
even if
you
he
right
wasn't.
away.
Then of course it took
there.
me many months to say, you're going to be my first passenger, by the way, because I have a vision, and I'm not gonna give up on this vision. I'm gonna take you to lunch. I'm not gonna, you're not gonna drive. I'm gonna fly you to lunch. So that's what kept me going, and I did. Oh, you know what happened when we got to this airport? Landed like butter. That's my goal every time, by the way. We get there and the server says, excuse me, where are you guys from? He said, oh, we flew in from Aurora. A lot of planes fly and they have lunch, appetizers, they hear a band, whatever, and they fly back. And the guy says, oh, you must be a great pilot. It was one of the few moments where I didn't say a word. I was just smiling and looking pretty. And he said, no, the pilot is her. I'm like, yes.
I love that because he immediately assumed it was him.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
Like, nope.
Why can't I fly? But I definitely, aviation has changed the way that I see the world. It's helped me land more on being more aligned and more of a planner, more of a drama, get rid of, like the drama just so I can focus on what would I do at 5,000 feet without an engine. I land the plane like butter without an engine. And that's what I think sometimes we have to do, because taking off is optional, but landing is mandatory.
Yeah, mandatory for sure. So give us one last, because you're doing so much, you're giving so much, tons of energy is going out. What do you do to recoup that energy, to to get yourself back? And people handle that and I don't want to hear the balance thing, right? Because everybody asks us about balance. It's like, really not, doesn't exist. It happens in moments, but the reality is when you got so much going on and when you have family and kids and et cetera, et cetera. But tell us what you do to recoup that mojo, because there are moments, and we all have them, when you lose a little bit, something happens, you get sick, somebody else does, or somebody breaks your heart, or something gets you. How do you recoup a simple thing, to recoup that?
I love massages for sure, facials, massages. I have 2 jacuzzis at my house that get used inside and outside, so I get to, just have those moments. I love journaling. To me, that is a way to zoom in and then have the opportunity to zoom out so I can focus on where I need to go. And flying, to me, honestly, like being up in the air at 3, 5, 7,000 feet, sometimes myself, sometimes with friends and people, that I care about, and, with my teddy bear, just everything stops.
I love the teddy bear thing.
Everything stops, like the bravest teddy bear you own me.
Yeah.
But everything stops, and then I come back and I was able to zoom out, and then now I'm ready to zoom in and do the work. So lots of other things, but if